Hey Sarah,
Hi there, Lebb.
nice to be here with you today.
And you too. What a wonderful way to start this.
Yeah, and the topic for today we're looking at is just a little bit about the scenes, collaboration, and looking particularly again at the KZN scene, but also how My03 Our03, the digital magazine that Sarah started here, fits into all of this. So yeah, thanks for joining us today. My name's Lebb, or Brandon, and I've been in the scene, the Durban scene, I think now for about 20 odd years, yeah. And it started off as just a fan, and now it's become being involved in music, even a bit of event organizing. I really enjoy these kind of things where we're having discussions, and some people have even seen me, on My03 Our03 doing interviews of bands, which, to be honest, is more a joy for me because I get to chat with all the people I love in our scene. I think I've just always been passionate about the KZN scene. I've always kind of felt we're such a diamond waiting to be discovered, but the infrastructure's often let us down and we haven't been able to fulfill that potential of the KZN scene.
I think I definitely agree with you. We're definitely a diamond in the rough. The scene is so full of talent, just so much talent. We just need to have more platforms, I think, to showcase it.
Yeah.
I must admit, for me, I'm from the Midlands. I'm deep in the Dargle, so it's beautiful out there. But our community is such a small, close-knit one. It's very intimate. And we've got so many skilled musicians. I mean, we've got people like Guy Battery who tour internationally regularly. We've got we've got What We Are. There's all the Maritzburg guys, the Band and Painting So Severe and a Fabric Shop. But there's just so much talent. And what really got me was just how supportive everyone is. We'd have home-based bands, like free jams, and you've got these incredible musicians of all different backgrounds and genres, all just free jamming together. All for us, we're just dancing. There's no recordings. It's just like in that moment, magic being made. The music has always been an experience. I'm not a musician at all, as much as I'd love to be. I've tried to learn guitar twice, but I'm not a musician. But the experience of music, the passion from the musician himself or herself playing on stage, sharing, or the audience, the people involved dancing. It's just such a lovely, close, supportive community. I mean, you've played at Vern.
Oh,
Some
yeah.
of the, and I mean, you often, I mean, back in the day, especially, people would come out from everywhere. They didn't need to have heard of you before. They just wanted to be there and experience this new music.
I love that. It was really the Winston of the Midlands, wasn't it?
Definitely,
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, the red door of the
Yes,
Howick.
yes. Maybe that's a good place to look at as well, is like maybe you can take us through a bit of the history of the Midland scene from what you've seen, what you've known, and I'll talk a bit about, Durban from what I've seen as well.
Oh, that'd be awesome. 3 years ago, it was thriving. We had like Il Pastino. So every Sunday they would have music. It alternated between a blues one week to tracing circles the next week. And so that people came from everywhere. That actually had a name, the pizza and the music. We'd have tourists there, and all the locals would always be there for a cold beer. We had the Vern, which had all of the local musicians, but also quite a space for touring bands. We had a lot of people coming through from the Netherlands, from all over the show. That was lovely. We've also obviously got Myth in Hilton.
Music in the Hills.
Music in the Hills. That's every 2 weeks on a Wednesday. And that is quite a special environment. It's to sit down, you're quite quiet. So it's like this, the musicians can actually play and be able to look around, and make eye contact. There's obviously the people dancing in the back row, but it's a much more quiet, different way of experiencing the music. In Maritzburg, we have Evo with Evo Music, and he's done a lot of events. I mean, you've been involved with the events, the Punk Prom. Another amazing thing about our Howick in the Midlands is also the hip hop scene. There's every month there's a meeting that happens, a cypher session that happens, and in Popomeni, myself and 2 other guys actually started that. We just, as of this next month, we're going to be doing them at the Vern in Maritzburg. There's also the weekly, every Friday there is a cypher that's been going there for, I think I may be wrong, but 13 years, maybe 16 years. It's every Friday they meet. It's awesome. We've just got so much music in our side of the world, and your side even more, I'm sure, the big city.
Definitely, but it's been amazing to see, like you say, the Midlands doing so well over the years. I've never been a part of it, so it's so nice. Thank you for explaining that all, because I've never really known what happens. I always knew about Music in the Hills, and I knew about the famous Red Door. I was lucky enough to play there before it closed down. Yeah, we had the Vern. Wow, that was a golden era for us. Like, we were lucky. Mans and I were moving there just as it opened. Like, it just had opened up and it was taking in bands. And you're right, it became so wonderful because up until that point, all the touring bands could only really come for a Durban tour. And in Durban, as beautiful as it is, we only have like a certain amount of people that are going to come to those gigs. And you know, whether it's in like Robson's by the harbour versus Westville, you're still going to end up with pretty much a similar crowd, maybe plus or minus a few extras. So it wasn't that beneficial for touring bands to come on a KZN tour and play to the same audience. So just adding that one extra stop in the Midlands at Howick there for the Vern has made such a difference for South African music, I believe, even for us too. You know, you don't want to play around Durban every weekend. So to go and play one Vern show a month and then Durban for the rest of the month, absolutely awesome. So from what I've seen in the 20 years I've been like floating around the scene, some big things. To be honest, actually, I feel like the scene, like we said earlier, it does this weird thing where it ebbs and flows, you know, and there's this moment where it's beautiful and it's just peaking, and it's like there's gigs happening every weekend, sometimes 2 gigs a weekend, and it's absolutely amazing. Big bands coming out, new bands that everyone's crazed about, everyone's loving it, and there's just the scene is thriving. And then comes the inevitable, or what seems to be inevitable, dip where bands break up and then their audience base kind of leaves the scene, or even worse is when we have venues closing down. And I don't know what it is in Durban, but we have a problem with like little things like noise complaints or even licensing issues where, you know, the police clamp down on these entertainment venues. I think it's really hard for entertainment venues to do what we need them to do as musicians. So the infrastructure has been lacking, and that's what I've noticed in the years. But we've had beautiful things like Burn. Everyone knows Burn, and most people have good memories there. And if you went on a Wednesday night for Pickled Pigs, you have no memories there. The successor, I feel, after that, I mean, even though they were around at the same time, but as Burn closed down, the Winston just picked up. I mean, the Winston was there for forever, but yeah, the Winston just came out of its golden age because that had to unfortunately close, I think, about 2 years ago. And that's brought again that dip that just took the market down, you know. So we've had so many cool venues here. And then there was also Live the venue, which was, as far as Durban goes, one of the most pristine in terms of sound equipment. And they had all the lighting of like big stages in South Africa, stuff that would be put next to like Sonnage in Joburg, you know. Big production. But unfortunately as well, that had to close down. So we've had all these different venues popping up, and, you know, and I think behind all of this, the one thing that was kind of nice and uniting both the scenes up until this point was Splashy Fen.
Yes.
You know, and we had Splashy Fen that was taking a bit of Durban artists, a bit of Maritzburg artists, but in my experience, and I might be wrong on this, that was the extent of the Midlands Durban kind of integration. There was no other integration besides that.
And what do you think helped that integration? Was it this meeting at Splashy and then touring? Was there much crossover between Durban bands coming to Howick, and were fans coming with perhaps to the Midlands and meeting people?
That's a good point, actually. What I've noticed is it's literally been the case of the last 3 years. I could put it down post-COVID, when we all started getting back together. And please, if anyone else has different information out there, please, correct me on this, because I'm only speaking from my limited knowledge as well. But I think there's been a few factors. Number one, we had event companies like Durban Rock City, Reverberate, and my personal favorite is Evo Music. Evan's like a close friend of mine, but I've just always enjoyed working with him. And guys like this have really transcended the boundaries of the scenes and have done great stuff for going all over and not just keeping it to Durban. I think as well the lack of venues in Durban and that same kind of crowd, that same kind of audience, that whether you play Westville or you play Point, you're going to end up with the same kind of crowd. It has forced us to seek out new venues, and that led to us discovering, and actually someone that I'd like to mention here is Ryan Geller,
Yes,
who took over the Vern, because if I'm correct, the Vern was always there, but it wasn't a music venue back in the day.
As far as I'm aware.
Yeah.
He definitely, even if there was, he changed it. He made it the stop.
Yeah, I remember getting a message from him, and when I was in Saturn Return, and we want you guys to come play, and Sons of Shem come play, and we're like, okay, Howick has a music scene, you know,
it's a retirement village.
Yeah. So we go up there, and that's like all of a sudden I'm meeting guys properly, like Skippy and Evan and Brett Trutzer and James and the guys from Painting So Severe, Woodgate guys,
Static Cats.
yeah, Dead Ringer, and these guys are awesome. Etienne the skater, you know, the other skater mates, Jason, you know, Hinman, and all these cool cats that are just a whole new scene. And luckily I was living there at the time, so we got a bit involved as well, and started, you know, telling our mates in Durban, hey, you got to come play the Vern, come check out this place, you know. And even to the point of offering guys a couch to sleep on, as long as you come play the Vern, you'll have a place to stay at with us, you know. So it wasn't just us, there were other people that were just making Maritzburg and Howick and Midlands gigs more accessible to Durban, who were so keen to just immerse themselves in that beautiful, that scene.
I remember one particular one. I think it was called Farm Fest.
Yes.
It was out in between, like up between Maritzburg and Durban. And that was quite something, because for me, it was my first festival camping out with the mix between Durban and the Midlands. That was a special one.
That again, like such a testament to Evan Oosthuizen, who himself is a musician, but he's also just been such a pillar in organizing these gigs. There's another big one that we talk about a lot. You were there, I remember that. I think that's where we met, but was punk metal fest.
Fest, yes.
Oh my word! And people still talk about that to this day. And that was, for me, a pinnacle moment in the integration of the two scenes, where it was a lot of Durban bands, but a lot of Maritzburg bands. And there was just a huge influx of people making their way from Durban, fans coming all the way from Durban and setting up camps. And then people coming from Maritzburg and setting up camps. And people I'd met once or twice, or not even met them, but just seen them at Vern gigs. We were having drinks together and getting to know each other. And
you give me the shivers. That's exactly what it's about.
Exactly. I remember one of my fondest memories is playing open gates at 2 a.m. with guys from Maritzburg and Durban, and I was like, who would have ever thought this would be our scene, you know? So it's come a long way, and I'm so grateful for people like Evan and Reverberate and Durban Rock City who are making this happen, you know?
But I think the thing here that we look at is how great and what kind of magic is made when we are mixing the different scenes, the different fan groups, the different musicians. Also, not just with the alternate scene, with the hip hop as well. I've just noticed there's been quite a lot of collaboration between the Midlands, or interacting between the Midlands and Durban, which Durban in the hip hop world is quite an entity unto itself. It's quite a powerful scene. So for the smaller places around the Midlands, it's quite something to try and break in, or to even have a chance to meet those people, you know, because it's so far. But we did an event in Musgrave at the Green Rose there, and we had Peg, and we had a whole bunch of the Durban artists. We brought a couple of the Howick guys through, and we also had Gur, so we had like, you know, heavy and so we had the slight difference in genre there. But what was magic there was the crowds came together, the Durban supporters, the Midland supporters, and then from that we had such a good feedback. We did another one in Maryvale where we brought Durban artists through, and we had majority Midlands hip hop artists, and the Many More band. So we kept to that theme of trying to have a slight difference in genre.
So like one band and mainly hip hop acts.
Yeah, and then the same thing we did at the Vern. We did with Many More and a whole lot of hip hop. And the same thing, we brought in Durban artists and people from around. And the vibe was incredible. So for me, the magic is in the experience of the music, and the experience is so powerful when we all come together and just connect and meet new friends. And, you know, that's those gooseflesh moments.
100%. But you've been a huge part of that, I must say. And for those of you that don't know Sarah, not only is she the head, like, and the editor of, is the editor the right term?
Lily, who does the editing, she's an incredible asset.
So I think what's been really interesting, and it's been a godsend to have these scenes overlapping, because I remember back in the day, for example, we'd play one Red Door show because you knew it was such a trek to get all the way there and all the way back. Whereas now, people like Ryan, people like Evo, people like you have been making that commute so much more accessible, networking with the other scenes, finding venues, finding things that are not necessarily in your hometown, but that are just creating opportunities for people like us, the artists, and I think that's what it comes down to, is that the opportunities are lacking. I think places, and it's been said, places like Cape Town and Joburg, although they are not without their own struggles, they definitely have a lot more on Durban in terms of infrastructure. They've got the big magazines, they've got the big event organizers, and the biggest thing for us is they've got the scene, the venues. They've got those venues that, and you're not dealing with like a maximum of like 500 people like you are in Durban.
Mm-hmm.
You're dealing with a much bigger audience there. So I think, and it's not to say, we don't have our strengths. We definitely do, but these are kind of some of the challenges we've noticed in the KZN scene. And it's been in an attempt to overcome those challenges. I think we've had to kind of network more. You know, we can't just play Durban every week without driving our fans nuts of the same old bands every week, or having 10 different events every weekend because each band wants to play their event. So what it's led to is us, like we've spoken about, the Howick, the Midlands scene all coming together with the Durban scene, but also even from our side, I'm noticing Belito is starting to come in now as well. The more North Coast is starting to come in. We've even been approached by Richards Bay for some gigs there. Then we've even got Toti, which Toti is seen as a little bit more, currently as it stands, is a bit more towards, covers and things like that. But it's also a scene where there's more venues popping up now. So we've got South Coast, we've got North Coast, we've got Durban, we've got Midlands. So the KZN takeover is slowly starting to really integrate, network with each other. And we did a panel discussion recently, and I think one of the key phrases that stuck out for me was, it's not my band versus your band. It's not my event company versus your event company. It's not my Durban scene versus your Midland scene. It's you and me versus the problem. We have problems as KZN, and it's not us versus each other, which that kind of capitalist culture kind of usually pushes us towards, me versus you. And now it's more like, whoa, we've all got similar problems. How do we bring it all together? And that brings me to, this beautiful thing of this digital magazine, My03 Our03, and the amazing effect that is happening, in my opinion, on the scenes all coming together in KZN. Not seeing it as the Durban scene and the Maritzburg scene anymore, but My03 Our03, just the name alone says this is more than just Durban. This is more than just Maritzburg. So, as the founder of My03 Our03, I'd love to hear from you. Like, what inspired it? What's the vision for it?
Well, I think what inspired it was this overwhelming feeling of just being so blessed with so much amazing musical talent, but just a wonderful life. Like I haven't always felt this, but I really haven't. But in the last few years, I've had this overwhelming feeling of, wow, I'm actually blessed when I stop and look at what we all have access to here, not just the fresh water and nice air, but the music, like we're saying, venues, even like the local, the platform where they have people, where you can sit and have a coffee and watch music. There was just so much to always have access to, especially I've got two teenage daughters. So for me, finding a place where we can go and there's something for everyone is quite important. So on that, just realized how easy it is in the Midlands and in our area, just how magic it is. And then, so that was an overwhelming thing, the feeling of the support. You can just feel it, like we are talking before, everyone comes to show support, everyone comes to the jaws. And then there was an incident that kind of triggered everything, where that first Rapscallions event at the dispensary in Musgrave happened. And I'd just seen Peg perform for the first time with Poster Boy. It was absolutely incredible at the Vern. So Peg was the first choice to do that. And from there, just meeting all those people through him, all the people in that scene, and just how much positive feedback they had for meeting the whole crowd, to be everyone coming out to support. And the more people I met and spoke to, the more magical and connected I felt to everyone. And, I just wanted to showcase what an amazing place we have. So the music was the main focus of that, but then it was everything else. We've got so many incredible tattoo artists. We've got so many incredible street artists, like Howick itself. The Jono Hornby is doing an incredible thing. There's a whole re-takeover. Everything's becoming beautified. There's interactive graffiti art. We've got things like, KZN probably is a wonderful place for marijuana smokers. There's incredible things around for you. So we've also got a strain reviewer who goes and gets samples from all different places around KZN. We try and also just look at all the amazing things that we have around us, really just showcase it and give people a platform. So and it's slowly grown. That was the drive behind it initially, and it's organically just growing into, because it was what My03 was, I suppose, in the beginning, was all the things that interested me. And as it grew organically, you joined the team, we had Lily join the team, and just slowly everything and different interests and people wanting to write for the magazine. I'm not always asking people or thinking of what we should write on. Often people are getting hold of me and saying, I saw something amazing, I'd love to share this with you. So that was the spirit of connection and just the experience of our KZN.
I think it's really a testament to you too, just as someone who's been able to work with you, and you've got such a organized energy, like you get things done, but you also are just warm and approachable and like welcoming, and like it's not the strict thing of you need to bring this and adhere to this format. It's what can you bring? What can you do? Let me hear your ideas. And you've been great. And it's just things like that go back to our collaboration points from earlier, is that you do something that I feel like we need more of in the scene itself, is allowing people to bring their strengths instead of adhering to certain things. So for example, you go to gigs and people want to hear covers. Is that what the band does best? No. Is that hearing their authentic voice? No. So we need more Sarahs in the scene that are allowing the musicians, the artists, everyone in the scene to do what they do best without adhering to these strict formats, I think that's been wonderful. And I'm getting so much good feedback on My03 Our03, and people are, even in the panel discussion we just recently had, people were talking a lot about that and what it's doing for the scene. So another thing we don't talk a lot about in terms of the infrastructure of a scene, we've spoken about venue, we've spoken about bands, but something that's quite interesting, and I'm proud to say we're getting there quite nicely, is media. We're really getting there with the media houses now. We've got, My03 Our03, and even something that's proudly, I think, in my opinion, I'm going to claim this, is proudly Durban and proudly KZN, is Sludge Underground. Even though they cover South Africa and international artists, they're also doing amazing things. And it's, how lucky are we? We don't have just one, but two great media channels in our community right now.
Just on that, also there's within the hip hop worlds, there's incredible media coverage as well. There's Tiny from Tiny Films.
Oh, wow.
He's done music videos for some really big names, like he's done the Blackie, OK Mnumi, P Dog Amazing, Feel the Vibe back in the day. He's done a lot of stuff. So what I'm saying is we actually have such strength and talent in these areas. We just need to start bringing it all together.
Wow,
we're very lucky.
I had no idea about that. I'm also grateful on another point that you're bringing in things that I would never see. Like I'm working a lot with alternative bands and, all of that, like, your traditional drum, guitar, bass kind of structures. But I'm very clueless when it comes to the hip hop scene. And that's where you've brought that to not just my attention, but the entire scene's attention, stepping it and transcending one step further. Instead of this is like KZN bands, you're now saying, this is the KZN music scene, beyond just bands, beyond just hip hop. It's all of us together.
The electronic scene as well, the EDM, we've also covered that in My03 Our03. And one of the things that I wanted to say most recently was their New Year's festival. It was kind of like a summary of what we're talking about we're needing to do, which is bring everyone together across the genres with having nice platforms for everyone. One Love Productions collaborated with a Joburg group called Chunga Children, and they did the Connection Festival. This year, they had a stage for live music as well. So they had the Fabric Shop. I think they had the band there. They had painted. They had a lot of the Durban guys, the Midlands guys, all there as well with their electronic stages. And so there was a creche. There was a creche at this year's trance festival because a couple of the organizers have children. People are coming to the festival with children.
Yeah.
And with the live music, there was a stage for creative art. You could go and paint things and do what I'm saying is a platform needs to be able to incorporate so much more than just the one thing. So if it's music, maybe a market and other genres of music, or there just needs to be more because we have so much more. Let's showcase it all together and make it work as a unit, as a KZN.
You're so right about that. And I see another name that's also doing good things with that is Loop Evolution. For those of you who don't know, like if you're a touring band, the kind of formula at the moment is come down from Joburg or come up from Cape Town, and you have your stop off in the Midlands. It used to be the Vern. I don't know what we're going to do now. Probably Evo or you.
Well, the Vern is under new management now, so we'll see what they do.
Okay. So hopefully, fingers crossed, it's still a music venue. Then we've got you stop off at Durban for like 1 or 2 nice gigs there. And then you head up the north coast to Belito at Loop Evolution Studios, and you play 1 more gig there. So it's now you've got a minimum of 3 gigs you can pay, across KZN, and it's been beautiful. That's something we haven't had in a long time.
Yeah, and if they time it right, they can do a myth one as well. Then you've got 4.
Yes. I think also another thing that's been really helpful is you've brought in something wonderful that we have. Okay, so we've got this collaboration, for those of you who don't know as well. We've got a WhatsApp group amongst all the event organizers in KZN to kind of discuss, like when it comes to conflicts of gigs and things like that. What we're trying to do, like we said, we only have a select number of people per, like, for the alternative scene. We've got like 500 maybe in Durban. And if you're lucky, maybe 500 will come to your event that night. And that's a big if. So we've had to kind of stagger the gigs and synchronize the gigs in a way that you're not taking that 500 audience and saying you now have to choose between 2 gigs and we're splitting that up. We want the bands, the event organizers, and the venues to go, wow, it was so worth doing live music here. So we want everyone to go to those few gigs that are happening and really maximize the potential to show these venue owners we need to invest more into live music in our venues. So we've had this Google Calendar come about as well, which you've been a part of, where it kind of event organizers try and not make the gigs, within 2 weeks of each other in the same venue in the same area. We get it right most of the time, but then sometimes as well for event organizers to talk about collaborations or, staggering gigs or bookings for like holiday seasons or public holidays, you've got the WhatsApp group as well. And that's a nice space. That's become a space for people to kind of talk about what do you want from the scene. So even though I started that group, it's not about me. It's more about just a place where the scene can have a voice on what do we need as a scene. So it's been nice to have all of these things. And then bringing me to the final points is I really love what My03 is doing. I don't know in my 20 years in the Durban music scene, I don't remember a time we've had a unified gig guide that takes all the events, hip-hop, alternative, anything, and says this is what you can expect and where you can go for the next 2 months across the entire KZN scene. That is absolutely huge for me. Where did that idea come from for you?
Well, that idea came from your, was it the Google Calendar?
Oh,
so
yes.
When you were discussing that, is then to have a place where people could actually visually see it. I think that came from one of our discussions,
awesome.
That idea. But
I'm going to claim that one.
Yeah, it's slowly growing. I'm hoping to be able to change the date so as you see the name, you can click on a link to go to the page. That's the next step.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah, just to make it easier for people just to see what's going on. But yeah.
That's absolutely incredible. I think that's been huge for us. I love the idea of going. I'm in Maritzburg for this weekend. Where is live music happening? Or any music happening. Click there. Oh, there's an EDM festival. Or there's rock. Or there's rap. This is so cool. So that's been a huge change in our scene that I've been so grateful to see from my end. So yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to say that is it KZN Cooks, Scene Cooks group?
Yes.
That WhatsApp group to open the space for people to be able to talk. It was a very important step, I think,
Really?
in our scene. Well, there wasn't, it was difficult. There was no formal platform for people to talk. It was very, there was there've been other WhatsApp groups that mix the artists and the fans and not necessarily the organizers, to have a space where people could talk about the issues. We share fan bases. How do we do this? How is it fair for everyone? How is it fair for the venues as well? It was all things that were important to be discussed. And I definitely think that it's a wonderful way to just be able to pull together and just be able to make something work for our scene. Yeah, so thank you for that.
Oh, sure. It's been like so wonderful working with all these different musicians and stuff, and it's just a place of coordination, but you guys and everyone else on there is really the ones bringing the ideas, which has been so amazing. So I must say it's a great time. Overall, it's a great time to be alive in this and be a part of this beautiful scene. So like, it's been amazing. I think we are definitely at the moment, not only is the Durban scene back on one of its the high points again, but it's now joined by the high point of the Midlands scene, the high point of the Belito scene. All these scenes are now at this high point, and I am manifesting that this isn't just one cycle of the ebb and flow, but this is actually the new default. This now becomes the new norm, where this is the KZN scene operating at this high level consistently, and I'm really looking forward to that, because, looking forward at our scene, I've always dreamt, I had this lovely dream, not to quote Martin Luther, but it's a different dream, that like our scene, something that I've gathered from all the musicians. I think every single interview I've done for My03 Our03, with every single band I've spoken to, each and every single one of them brings up in some way or another the amazing, unique soul of the KZN scene. Like, we have our own sound, we have our own music, we have our own voice, our own creative expression. And it's my dream that expression, same, can really get out there, not just into the South African scene, but into the global scene, to get the voice it deserves. Because I know that once it's out there, people are going to love this, It's funny, because like one of our biggest exports to South Africa in terms of music is like Amapiano, and that's beautiful and that's great, but it's only the tip of the iceberg, and the world is not ready for the KZN scene, and also Joburg scene, the Cape Town scene. And just to go back to our points on collaboration earlier, that's been beautiful to see, is as we've become consolidated as a scene, we've started working with, the Joburg scene more, like guys like France the Planet and Emilith, and all these guys that are running these amazing gigs. Also, like the Cape Town guys too. It's been amazing to see the South African scene also integrating together. So that's been incredible. So Sarah wants to get me back for all the hard prompting questions I ask these interviewers. They want a taste of my own medicine here, so let's hear it.
So if you had to take one local musician into war with you, who would it be?
Sure, there's a couple answers I can think of. Off the bat, Reino Tehran, because a tank is good in every war. But then there's Evan, because he's always prepared for anything. But then, as well as, I guess, Ava from Bedrock Spirit, she would be the general that's just calculating and strategizing, and she's a brilliant mind who just gets it. So another asset to our scene.
Definitely, Ava is a definite asset to our local scene.
Sweet.
Well, thank you so much, Lebb.
Thank you, Sarah. It's been lovely to actually get to sit and talk with you instead of interviewing everyone else for the magazine.
Well, thank you so much. It's been wonderful to be here.
Sure, same.